Favorite comfort TV shows. Hello and welcome to this week's video. Now, I've done a few videos like this before. I've done a favorite Doctor Who stories, favorite comfort movies, favorite comfort horror movies. So now I'm doing just a general favorite comfort TV shows. Now, I have to say there is a little bit of a difference here between this because honestly, for the most part, not 100%, but certainly for the most part, like 95%, I would say, when it comes to comfort movies and comfort horror and comfort Doctor Who, a lot of those things are related to the ones that I saw when I was a kid, or at least in my teens. That's not necessarily the case with TV shows. In fact, I think it's probably less so, quite considerably. Now, there are a few of those. The Little Vampire is one I would still regard as a comfort TV show. And I suppose you could count Classic Who, since I did first get into that when I was still a kid. But there are probably more comfort TV shows that I reach for just for comfort and entertainment, and because they're familiar and easy, than is the case with anything else. A lot of my comfort TV shows, most of them from the 90s or even the early to mid 2000s, which again certainly wasn't a kid for, or not even a teenager for the latter half of the 90s and the 2000s. Sitcoms are often a comfort viewing. I mean, Friends is a good comfort one. I know Friends is comfort TV for a lot of people because it's just easy to sit down. It's easy to familiar characters that you like spending time with, laughs. You know exactly what you're getting, and it provides that in easily digestible chunks with minimum effort needed to actually just enjoy it and have a good time. So I would say stuff like that is comfort TV. Seinfeld is another good example. News Radio is another good example. Moving away from sitcoms, The X-Files, very much a comfort TV show. One of the absolute highest comfort TV shows is Buffy. Not really Angel, because I don't like that anywhere near as much, but Buffy is Buffy is the definition of a comfort show for me. Absolutely something you can always rely on, enjoy spending time with the characters, familiar, accessible, easy. And again, I think it comes down to that. I think it comes down to familiarity and affection for the characters that makes it easy to just connect with and enjoy. Now, one of my shows that very much has become comfort TV, even though it's not that old by any stretch of the imagination, in fact it only finished 5 years ago, I'm sure most of you who know this channel know what I'm talking about, is Elementary, the modern Sherlock Holmes show. That's become absolutely one of my go-to comfort shows. Almost too much so. I've had to kind of put a moratorium on it this year. I watched season 2 again earlier this year, and I was very tempted to go into season 3 again, even though again I'm kind of concerned about watching them too much too often, too soon. I don't want to spoil them by overwatching them, because it's just so easy, so enjoyable, so accessible, and I love the characters, especially John Lee Miller's Holmes. It just makes it very easy to sit down and enjoy. Another one that I would probably regard as a comfort show, which I guess is kind of nostalgia and kind of not, is The Bill, which obviously I've done a exclusive video on not that long ago. I mean, that kind of is a nostalgia thing, because it started when I was a kid, but I didn't stop watching it till like my mid to late 20s. So it kind of is and isn't. And honestly, my favourite period is probably the mid to late 90s, which again certainly wasn't a kid for. But again, there's so much of it, and again, it's familiar characters, a familiar kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a kind of familiar beat, a kind of familiar pace that you get used to. again, this is something I think maybe it represents a slight OCD quality. Although to be fair, I don't think I'm anywhere near as OCD as some people. I mean, I really could care less how things look on the shelf in terms of. I know some Doctor Who fans go absolutely ape shit. We know when they change the VHS logos and the DVDs and stuff like that, they go absolutely ape shit because they don't match. That sort of thing just does not. I don't care. I really don't. But maybe there's a slight OCD thing. Even as a kid, I like the format of things. I like the familiar beat of things. It's not just familiar characters, but it's the familiar. It's the opening credits and the closing credits and the way that the show is structured. That's one of the reasons why I like Classic Who, with the cliffhangers and all the rest of it. That's probably one of the things that I was into with other stuff like Sons and Daughters, Australian soap when I was a kid, which I liked and I'm still a fan of. There's something about the way that something is structured and the fact that it's the same every time. I think I think that adds to the comfort factor, and I do think that's possibly a thing that modern TV or modern streaming, because it's not really TV. I think that's something that they're missing. To be honest, I think it's something they're lacking. They're going on about they can have episodes be longer or shorter, and it's like, but you're missing the fucking point. You're missing the point of TV. There's also an argument to be made, but that having to fit an episode into a particular format and time is actually a discipline that makes it better, which is why so many of these shows come across as incredibly undisciplined and self-indulgent and or lazy. I think there's a strong argument for that, and I would actually agree with it. I mean, look at a lot of modern shows in comparison to, say, something like Buffy, because those kinds of shows, those network shows, they're structured in terms of acts. They're not just structured in terms of getting to the end of the episode. They're structured in terms of acts because they have like mini cliffhangers or mini dramatic peaks where the adverts come in. Now, I know some people can object to that, particularly writers. But again, I think it's a fucking discipline. And I think it makes those things better than these incredibly self-indulgent streaming shows that don't feel they have to capture you because otherwise you might turn off during the adverts, with the end result being a lot of them come across as incredibly slow, incredibly boring, and incredibly pointless. So I can't help but think, I'm sorry, this is supposed to be about comfort TV shows, and I've somehow turned it into a rant about how crap modern stuff is. Oh well. Welcome to my channel. But yeah, stuff like that, I find that very comforting. And I think that has a reason why certain things are comfort shows. Of course, it's not just that, because most things have that kind of, most old kind of network shows or whatever, they have that format, but that doesn't mean I'm going to like them all. That's just kind of one feature of them that I enjoy. And yeah, while it definitely does come down to nostalgia in these cases, that I do find some comfort viewing in like a lot of old school 70s 80s British TV that I grew up with. It's familiar, the pacing, the music, stuff like early to mid Taggart, the P.D. James mysteries, the comedies like Likely Lads, Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads. There's something about, again, this is something else that makes for a comfort, in that a lot of these shows, like The Avengers, like Classic Who, like all those things I've just mentioned, there's so many of the same actors in them that it's almost like a repertoire. So even if you can't remember what the actor's name, you know who he is. It's like, it's that guy from Doctor Who, it's that guy from Fawlty Towers, there's a certain comfort to that. And again, I think this is yet another reason why a lot of modern TV doesn't have the same effect on me, because I don't know who any of these people are anymore. I don't recognize 90% of them. It's like, what? Maybe that's something to do with it as well. Anyway, these are just some of my favorite comfort TV shows. I mean, I have other shows that I don't necessarily find comforting, but I still enjoy. I mean, Person of Interest is an excellent show. I'm not sure I'd call it a comfort show, to be honest. It's a great show, but I'm not sure I'd call it a comfort show. Whereas something like Elementary has become a comfort show despite being so recent. Oh, feels recent to me anyway. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this rambling, incoherent mess of a video, and I will talk to you again soon.